into this specifically. So
I
yeah, I
love it.
appreciate that reminder.
Yeah, no problem. Look, I love this conversation about inflation. You mentioned you're in Lubbock, Texas, great place. I'm up here in Montana, and we're not untouched by inflation. It's probably funny when people out in California hear us complain about $5 gas because they're already paying 8 or 9. But $5 is a lot more than we've ever paid. And don't forget, by the way, all your farmers are out here. That diesel surging like it is, everything's going to get more expensive. I've been talking about inflation the last couple months and being prepared for what's going to come midsummer, late summer, and into the completion of the year. And I don't know if people are listening. I'm getting worried about them, because like what you said, we've got to outpace inflation. Otherwise, we're in the hole, right? So maybe you could touch a little bit on that and relate it to crypto and some of the other things that you guys are getting creative with to help us fend off what's going to be happening even worse than right now.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think again, going back to where you're currently invested. So um, most people don't actually know really what they're invested in. They know maybe the custodian or the big picture of, it's with Merrill Lynch or something like that, but you don't actually know. You don't know your returns. You don't. And then the returns are really mixy and match. It's like a year over year. Well, if last year was bad, then that means this year's the percentage is gonna look good, but it's not actually the right number because they're just basing on how bad last year was.
Mm-hmm.
So everything future, you've got to look at it. The economists are all in congruence that it's going to be a dead decade in the stock market for the next decade. The bond market, a dead decade. It's trash. Uh, the king of the bond market, Ray Dalio, would say, yeah, it's trash. I mean, you'll actually get paid to get out of a bond just by getting out of it. So the bond market, the stock market, it's no bueno. Gold, unfortunately, as much as all my gold lovers like, gold's great, you can't do anything with it. And now that you see inflation happening, there's no utility, and it's not going to be used at Walmart. And so the reality is you actually are about to go into a really hard season. And so how we have addressed that in stewardship and shifting, bobbing and weaving and being versatile is only going into places we know will outpace inflation. So I want to focus on our hedge fund and cryptocurrency. What we do in cryptocurrency, again, there's 18,000 coins, and you don't have to understand all the concepts because you didn't understand all the concepts when you went into the stock market.
That's
You
right.
didn't understand what they were going into and how they were investing and where the cash was coming from and if they were borrowing money. You didn't understand when debit cards and credit cards came out. When you first slid your first debit card through the merchant account, you didn't know how they got the money from one point to the other, and you didn't know if they were actually keeping your numbers and saving them. Like, you didn't know anything. You just swiped it and it went approved. So the reality is you have to make the transition, and don't make it so difficult where you just don't make the transition because you're so set in your ways. So what we do specifically as an expert in cryptocurrency is we are actually holding a piece of Bitcoin in the portfolio, and then we have trades that we're making between other specific coins that have powerful utility. So I wanted to give you a quick explanation because most people think cryptocurrency. Most crypto, like 17,000 of the coins are junk. So just like 95% of the stock market is junk. Well, the iPhone is going to be my example. So I'm going to take the iPhone as symbolic to Bitcoin. The iPhone is software. Someone might say, well, it's a phone. Yeah, but that's the utility. Yeah, it's a camera. Yeah, that's the utility, but it's software. Well, Bitcoin is software. Someone might say, well, but isn't it a currency? Yeah, and actually El Salvador has actually made it legal tender. Yes, so it's actually a currency. Yes, the Ukraine president's actually signed approved a bill to actually legalize Bitcoin as legal tender. Yes, Malaysia has made it legal tender in their in their country. Yes, Vietnam's ordered for the central bank to make it legal tender. Yes, it's actually real. It's actually legal tender in a lot of places, but it's actually software. And so on that software, there's what's called a blockchain. And on the iPhone being software, there's what's called a platform of called an Apple Store, the where your apps are. So your app store would be a platform, and Bitcoin has a platform called a blockchain. In the app store in your phone, there's actual apps that help make your life better, help make your life more productive. Maybe it's a productivity app, or it's a Bible app, or it's a banking app, or it's a Excel spreadsheet app, or it's a better camera, and some of these apps you pay money for. So they're actual businesses.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that makes Apple more valuable because all these businesses have people buying stuff on those apps. Bitcoin has a platform called the blockchain, and there's businesses on the blockchain, just like there's businesses on the App Store. So it makes Bitcoin more valuable, or it makes Ethereum more valuable, or Solana more valuable. The coins that actually have a blockchain have utility, and that makes them more valuable. So all the drama on the news, it's really dicey and so dramatic and volatile. But what you really want to look at is, well, what's the utility? How does it work? And so that's what we build our strategies off of. And that's why we've been able to return, over 100% rate of return in the last 2 years. Matter of fact, it's last year was 188%. And then in 2020, it was 312%. That's net of all of our fees. So our management has been able to do that because we're looking as good stewards. Like, but what's the utility? How does it actually work? And how can I be a better steward with my money? And then how can we take other people's money and be a good steward with it? And so, the conviction behind that, again, starts with inflation rising and rising. I have to get outside of a system that's holding me back. And now I take that money out of the US dollar and I put it in something that actually is thriving, that has where all the growth is going. So it's kind of like in your hometown. There's areas of the city that are dying, and there's areas of the city that are thriving. And if you stay in the part of the city that's dying, crime gets worse. Darkness actually is attracted to that area. Why? It's so crazy. But you start scooting west, or you start scooting to where the lights are new and the road is new and the houses are new and the retail is new, like the security and the area is actually more alive. The traffic is more productive. It's more positive. Walking into that Walmart versus the Walmart where everything's dying is two different clienteles. Like one's safe, one's unsafe. So think about like that. You're moving west. You're moving your investments to a platform that's not dying. You're moving to where all the money is. You're moving to where the adoption is. And that's the best way to be a good steward over your investments.
Like, I love it. That's probably the best description I've been given on cryptocurrency and how to explain it. So well done there. By the way, don't move west to Montana. We got enough people here already. and the reason why the dark areas stay dark because the light areas got bigger guns. No, I'm just playing. It's funny. My mom just started using a debit card like 3 years ago. And she's like, wow,
That's awesome.
this thing really works. I said, Mom, I've been telling you for 30 years, but, and to your point though, people are hesitant to jump into an arena that they don't know much about. And I appreciate that you're offering a course for our listeners to learn more about cryptocurrency and all those things. I think it's so important that we stay ahead of this inflation. Otherwise, we're going to get eaten up and we're going to see, wealth disappear because people weren't paying attention. So clearly you're adding some value there. any tips for our listeners as we wrap this thing up a little bit outside of crypto, or just things that they can do on their own and be a little bit smarter with? Bury some cash in the backyard. I don't,
Yeah.
what do you got for us?
Yeah, I think I would give some mental frameworks. So some people would say, set it and forget it, stay in for the long haul, you'll weather the storm. That might have been a path that worked, in the future. Excuse me, in the past. Excuse me. But when everything becomes unconventional or volatile or crazy things happen in the world, here's my quote. I'd say unconventional world events beckon us to be a good steward with unconventional strategies. So you got to think different. You have to go to unconventional strategies during unconventional world events. So that would mean you don't think the same way. You don't stay in for the long haul and weather the storm and think the stock market is coming back. No, 25% of the companies that are publicly traded in the S&P are called zombie companies. They're called zombie companies because they can't pay their debt service. Like they're dead. They're printing money and just keeping them alive. That's how bad it is. So number one, unconventional world events means you have to have unconventional strategies. Number two, volatility does not equal bad. So just like when a 9-month-old or 15-month-old, depending on where your kid was in development, they start walking, they are very volatile.
Mm-hmm.
But you produce this joy and you're like craving them to stay in volatility because the more they shake and bounce and try to stay afloat when they're walking, they're going to get it. And those muscles are going to gain strength. So anything when it starts, so someone might say Bitcoin's volatile. Well, it's like it's been around for 12 years now, and it's now growing legs and stabilizing. But it's like a 5-year-old that looks like an 8-year-old, and you expect so much out of the 8-year-old, but it's just a 5-year-old. Like, ease up on the 5-year-old. Well, Bitcoin's grown 20 million% in 12 years. Everyone just looks at the day to day or the hour by hour, but it's grown from 1 penny to, where now it fluctuates between $40,000 and $45,000. So you got to change the whole way you think. So volatility does not equal bad. Number three, last one I'll leave you with is that strong rate of returns. So we're talking triple digit. Strong rate of returns don't equal risky. So we've floated in the time period of not even really knowing how much you made, and as long as your wealth manager didn't actually call you, maybe that was a good thing, kind of kept your head in the sand. So you don't even know how much you made. And then you think like, wow, if I make double digits, that's risky. Triple digits, that must be ultra risky. So strong rate of return doesn't mean risky. As long as you're in wise stewardship, it might be the best and the only good decision, understanding that inflation's in double digits. So we have to change the way we think when we're in an unconventional season. You have to have unconventional strategies, and some actually are very strong investments producing strong rate of returns, and that's what we have currently right now. So strong rate of returns does not equal risky investments.
I love that. Well, I'm convinced. I've got a small herd of cattle out here I'm going to sell for Bitcoin. So if you're listening, I'm taking offers now.
There you go. There you go.
Hey, it's unconventional. I don't know how many cowboys are selling cattle for Bitcoin. So Blake, thank you for being on the show. I'm going to put some notes in this so people can find out more about your free offer. He's also at Baroncap, BORONCAP.com. If you want to find out more, reach out to him. Really appreciate you being a guest on the show and bringing us some value as it relates to inflation and our investments.
Hey, you're so welcome. And for those of you who maybe just didn't catch the stuff on the masterclass, It's one of the most valuable pieces we've done. It's a free thing to you, no strings attached. But to get it, what you'll do is you'll text the word invest to 87777.